Hi, my name is Nick and I'm with Atlantic Laser Scanning Services. You may have seen our videos dealing with ferro laser scanners, point cloud software, but today we're going to do something different. We're going to begin our series where we're interviewing LiDAR professionals. Now, today's interview is going to be with a drone company that's using some new equipment and some new software to do some amazing things. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to be talking with Seth Berry from Global Hawk. He is a drone company. He works in both LiDAR and works with different types of cameras. Seth, can you tell us a little bit about Global Hawk and how long you've been around? What do you guys do? I know you're working with survey companies now. Give me a little bit of an idea.
Yeah, so we've been around for about 3 years or so. We started when we built a gas imaging camera for the oil field. They didn't really have much of that with drones, and so we noticed that. We filled that gap and moved on and started hearing a lot more from survey companies on whether or not we can do data collection for their topos, and they wanted to cut brush out and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, we're able to do all kinds of stuff with the LiDAR scanners that we use now from Rock Robotics and the R2A software. So,
well, that sounds interesting. The people I think that are listening, a lot of them are working with standard laser scanners, and they're not really familiar maybe with some of the LiDAR that is now capable with drones. Can you give us an idea of what the equipment is, how difficult it is to use, accuracy? It sounds interesting.
Yeah, so the equipment itself, actually, the one we use at the moment because of the hot swap battery capabilities, is the R2A from Rock Robotics. I'll share a project with you here so you can kind of get an idea of what the detail is. It's pretty incredible. We get down to 1.5 millimeter accuracy, for example, on this project here. And so all this data is captured in less than 2.5 hours of our time. And that means a lot less billing time for the survey company, and they get the same amount of data or more than they would ever imagine.
So when you go out as a drone pilot now, are you do you have ground control points to get that kind of accuracy? I imagine.
Yeah, so this project is 1.5 millimeter, and we only use 6 ground control points for the whole project. And the only reason we use 6 is because we stayed within the parameters where they wanted measured, and we captured this extra data just because we had bid 2 hours and we were going to give them 2 hours of data. So we actually went ahead and captured what we consider usable and needed data on their side with this type of stuff, where they didn't realize, oh, well, now we have the erosion and the drainage and everything else that runs off the road. It's not just off the hillside. So it gives them a lot more information.
So you were hired to gather information on that small spot there. You
Correct.
were able to pick up all this extra information at 1.5 millimeter accuracy, and they own all of this data just for the one time they send you out. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, it's their data. We share it with them. We just go down to share. We put them on as an owner on the project, and it's their project. They can go into it as many times as they want for as long as they want. And we usually keep the projects on for as long as their project is live and active. And once a project's shelved, we save all the file types that you see down here and pull them off, put them onto an external drive, and they'll have access for CAD 3D on any of those. And we save all the existing mapping and all the file types that you see. So all this data gets saved, and they can get it whenever they want, or we can leave it up on the platform if they want to keep it there. So
now I can say from experience dealing with engineering firms, survey companies, sometimes point cloud software can be a little intimidating. Do they have to learn the software in order to get this data, or how's that work?
they don't have to learn it. Actually, the easiest part about the software is they just ask for what they want, and we'll go in and put it up exactly how they want it, deliverables and all. And when it's all said and done, they have their project just like this with their contours, everything. If they want a delivered shapefile with a specific mark off, or a drainage or cutoff, like we can actually go in and add stuff like this, where we're now getting into, it gives you your cut and fill on the road, your erosion concerns, if you need to bring in earth for fill, if you don't, this, that, and the other. It's a lot of data you can get in just a few minutes. So
And if they came to you and had you run the drone, collect the data, and said, we just need this, this, and this, and we need it in this file format, you're the one that can pull all of that and just provide it to them. They don't, while I suppose they can get in here and learn this software, you can literally just hand it to them and send them the file formats that they want. That's it.
Right. Yeah. And it's simple. I'll spend time with the customers a lot of times when they want to learn how to fiddle with it so they can show their customers the data in the software platform. And it's fine. We can actually go in and share it with whoever they want to have access to it as a visitor or a viewer only. And so they can keep that data and they can learn the system, or we can just send them the files they need. And it's such an easy system to use that if we spend an hour with the customer showing them how to access their deliverables, and if they pick it up quick, that's fine. If they don't pick it up quick, then it's no big deal. We can send it to them whenever they email us or call us. So
it looks like you've gathered a ton of data here, more than what they were actually asking for. Is that's something that I would assume is usable for maybe another project down the road?
yeah, right. So maybe later on they might want, just a road cut off, like a road topo. And so it might be the same section or an extended section with the drainage. Maybe they're having flood issues or whatever it may be. So we can actually go in and take ground control points after the fact along the road, and then use the same capture data, the same collected data that's existing, and just process more deliverables into it. And then they have access to both or all, and it's all in one file shared. So
they don't need to send you out with the drone for a second and a third time. It's all there.
No, it's all there, and and the best, easiest part for the customer is it's computer processing time. So it's not flight time. Flight time's the expensive time. So it's when you're having to send pilots out but it's still cheaper than anything else. Sending 2 guys out for 3 days to collect this, or 3 guys out for 2 days to collect the data that you see, took us less than 3 hours. So
and I imagine that's a lot safer than standing in a potentially heavy traffic zone trying to gather the same data points, just a few data points, let alone how many actual points of data have you got in this file here?
This file is only 75 acres, so it's give or take probably 750,000 or 750 million points.
750 million, in essence, XYZ points. That's amazing at a 1.5 millimeter accuracy.
Right. Yeah, it takes we're collecting around 1 million a second, and I think when the lever arms are adjusted and it aligns all the data, and the AI software kind of takes over, it cuts out maybe a quarter of that. So you end up with 750,000 a second, give or take. It adds up. So
I assume that this is the sort of technology that's probably going to begin to take over. If I'm a survey company and I want to, start doing drone LiDAR capture for my business, because we take on some large projects, or maybe some projects have less time to go out and physically capture it, and this would be a good option. What kind of equipment and all kinds of expenses, I imagine, in becoming drone LiDAR worthy, what are some of those things that they would be concerned with?
Well, buying the equipment, first of all, that's kind of like your just walk-in starting price of about 6 figures, is where you need at least 5 to 6 sets of batteries, $1,500 a whack for a set. And then, you get 200 flights out of a set. I go through 8 batteries to 10 to 12 batteries in a day. Like if I was flying for 8 hours, I would go through at least 12 batteries, 12 sets of batteries cycled through in a day. And when you're only allowed to fly them 200 times, you're chucking a set of batteries every month almost. So,
wow. And then that's assuming you even know which drone would be the right drone for this type of work, or this type of I take it the Rock Robotics LiDAR system, it's not something you can just bolt on to just any drone. So I'm sure there's a lot of research that would go into just picking the right equipment.
Yeah, that is correct. They have one domestic, the Astro Free Fly, and then they have the DJI, which is a Chinese made company, manufacturing drone company. And we use DJI because they have a hot swap capability that came out previously before the Astro did. And we are actually getting an Astro soon enough here because we have customers that don't want Chinese drones on their site, and that's fine. It's part of like a, you know, Department of Justice DoD thing where maybe if they have a contract with the DoD, they're not allowed. So it happens a lot, but it's a lot of oil and gas business that we run into the same way. You know, companies like Berkshire Hathaway won't allow Chinese drones on their well sites. So yeah, you kind of run into that problem, and they only have 2 drones that, like I said, that have that hot swap capability. And if you don't have the hot swap capability, in between every battery exchange, you have to recalibrate a flight. So you're wasting 5 to 7 minutes of your 28 minutes of flight time calibrating your flight. So it's kind of like you weigh your options and you just bite the bullet, take what you can get, the best one that's out there. So
if you were going to take one of your employees then to have them trained to be a drone pilot, what's involved with that?
well, you have to get a 107 commercial license. Any kind of drone work that kind of make a penny on or a dollar on, you have to have 107 license so they can tax you. And then keeps the whole environment safe and industry safe too. I mean, it puts some rules and regulations down that needed to be down in the first place, but they weren't there yet. So they finally caught up to them a little bit. There were some people just flying drones at 40,000 feet. Like they're just no big deal. Right, with the air traffic. So, you know, that's why they set that stuff up. And then you get into your overhead of your insurance, and your insurance can be very expensive because every single drone, well, you have to have your general liability. So your drone pilot has to be on there as a pilot, and you have to have that UAV general liability insurance. And then you have to have every employee has to be under that because they have access to the controller. So it can get kind of expensive as a company to just decide to do it. If you're not doing more than half your projects with a drone, I don't recommend it. It's a lot cheaper. In general, it's a lot cheaper just to hire a subcontractor that specializes in it anyway, because who wants the headache of the overhead when you can write off a subcontractor's work when you can't write off your own work?
Well, that's a good point. And then even to go to the trouble of buying all the equipment, having one of your employees trained, and you know, who's to say that employee is going to stay around forever? So then you end up with a bunch of equipment and no one that's capable of flying it. I can imagine that could be a real problem too.
Oh yeah, we've trained quite a few people, and then same company calls the next month and they want another employee trained, and we just ask them, why don't you have the other guy train him? And oh, he's not here anymore. So
wow,
kind of same problem, different day. And it happens quite a bit. And you know, you may get they'll pay to get a 107 license on a guy, and he finds out, well, I could do real estate imaging and all kinds of stuff, and just spends $1,500 on a drone and starts working with his mom's real estate company or something. So, you know, it happens all the time.
well, and as with anything, I think having somebody trained for the first time, there's probably a fair amount of damage to equipment that can occur if you don't really know what you're doing. And I assume that this is something that happens on a regular basis with new pilots.
It does, yeah. I mean, as much as they put landing protections and protections on whether or not the aircraft can collide or collision control into anything, yeah, you'll always have a guy or yourself not paying attention and fly into a power line because it doesn't see it. Or, you know, when you're running power lines and you're flying them for utility companies doing, you know, vegetation management, you end up hitting something that you didn't even see. And it's stuff that happens. And if you're insured properly, it's okay. But to be insured properly, you don't want 100 employees under that same insurance because it's real expensive. So
well, I can definitely see, number one, why a survey company would want to work with drones and with LiDAR. Number two, the better option is to use a subcontractor who already has the skill set, the licenses, and the equipment and the experience. And number three, the data looks amazing. These point clouds are amazing. The accuracy is there, and they don't even need to learn how to use the software. They can literally just ask you for the basic data that they were asked to capture, and you're just going to provide it to them. I mean, that just sounds like a really simple, easy fix.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, a lot of problems that they run into, and the reason they use LiDAR is trying to see through the canopy of trees and everything else. And I'll show you right here just how well that works. When you turn this off and you turn the trees back on, you can see how thick the trees actually were. You wouldn't even know there's drainage there. And you know, that LiDAR picks it up in 2 seconds. So you can have guys walking around and they have their survey equipment picking up angles and dimensions till the cows come home and stuff will get missed. It's inevitable. There's human error, but when you leave it up to a drone and the LiDAR, it kind of takes the human error out. That's just in the flying programs.
Wow, this is really amazing. I'm very impressed, Seth. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. And look forward to working with some new customers here. So,
Well, I fully expect that you will. Thanks a lot.
thanks, Nick.